Rasto, thank you very much for joining us at the Eastern Partnership Conference today.
My pleasure.
I have 5 questions for you. So could you tell me your thoughts on eDemocracy and open government in a nutshell?
When I hear eDemocracy, for me, this means transparency. This means ability for people to be able to exercise their rights. And this also means utilizing the available technologies and allowing people to do this.
What does open mean to you?
Well, I've been involved with media for about 20 years. And so for me, looking into areas, of public management or, of areas which are somehow hidden from the public domain, and particularly looking at how public money is managed by the governments. I think this is what I would say. This is where we need the openness. This is where we need transparency. And so to be open basically means that the government has nothing to hide. That there are no shady sort of businesses, that they do. And they are open, with the way how they really manage public affairs.
Could you name a good practice in eDemocracy or open government?
So I'm from Slovakia, and in 2010 the government passed an important law, which basically now makes them to publish all contracts which are done working with the government online. So I think this really is a good sort of example of transparency, because it allows everyone who is interested, who may have some questions about some possible connections, to actually go online and study for himself or herself, whether there is anything there, whether there are any connections. And I believe this is really what should be done. I mean that the government, once it comes really to managing things, that they shouldn't hide such things as contracts, with private companies or with whomever. So to avoid any questions about possible involvement of certain individuals or paying back for something. So I think this is what I would consider really a very good example of a good practice.
Could you name a bad practice in eDemocracy or open government?
Right. I don't have perhaps an immediate example, but perhaps from a more general perspective, I think we should not rush.
Okay.
I think there are some areas, such as elections, where you want to make sure that you get things right. And so, for example, the example of e-voting is one where I think we need to make sure that everything is put in place properly before we start introducing this. And also someone mentioned it very rightly during this first session, that unless there are sort of democratic institutions developed in countries, we are not going to be able to develop these democratic institutions just by introducing e-democracy, e-governance. So I think it has to be first deeply rooted in the minds of people. I mean, it has to be deeply rooted in those countries, and then I think we can really work with e-governance, e-democracy tools.
What will we be discussing at this conference in 10 years, so in 2028?
Right, so my area is media. I look at how the media has changed in recent years, and they have changed dramatically. So I am almost afraid to say something because in 1 week time perhaps it will already be different. This is the speed with which we can see now the developments in this area. But certainly, I think for me, one of the big challenges is this artificial intelligence, the way, you know, how these deep fakes could work. I mean, so this would be one area that I'm afraid we will have to discuss. I don't know if it's in the next 5 or 10 years, maybe even earlier. And then on a sort of positive side, I would really like to see, because I'm convinced that we need journalists.
Yeah.
I think we need good journalism. And so I just want to see a good model how we can actually finance good journalism online.
Thank you very much for your time.
Really,
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's see if we get the okay.
I think we have to do it again.
Everything?
No, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Not
Okay.
a good joke.
Okay.
Not a
I
good joke.
know. Sometimes I have to do it.
Sometimes, yeah.